Hey guys, what's going on? It's your boy, Big Blue Drew 97 here to talk to you about My Hero Academia manga chapter 266 titled Happy Life. And with that little intro out of the way, let's dive right into this chapter where we get the what happened after Dobby walked into the room, set it on fire, and tried to kill Hawks. Hawks survived, which is great because, frankly, last chapter, there was a death flag planet, so I thought that Hawks was gonna die. So I'm glad that he actually survived. And during that time, he also survived, and he also apparently saved twice as well. And when he did that, he just looks at Dobby and is basically like, "What's wrong with you? You almost killed your friend." And Dobby, being the sarcastic prick that he is, it's like, well, you're a hero, so I knew you were gonna save him. You're a hero type. That's what your heroes do. You save the people, don't you? And he says it sarcastically, but there's actually, like, it makes sense because even though, yes, he is a villain, the main thing that heroes do isn't to resort to death. It's to rescue people and, like, if they're fighting a villain, like, make them give up. So will not try to kill them as a resort, and they will always try to save people. And so that's what Hawks does. He saves twice, and Dobby counted on him doing that because he realizes that he's a hero. And this is a very common trope in My Hero, or just in heroes in general, how they will save people even if it means like giving up like their own life, because not only does he save twice, but he also loses a lot of his feathers that he could have used to fight. And this is similar to what happened with Mirio during the overall fight, how he saved Eri by giving up his own quirk because that's what heroes do. So it's just a quirk of heroes to save people, even if they are villains, and by doing so, it puts them in a more unfavorable position, which it does now. And that's something that Dobby also calls out about it. And while he's, you know, being a sarcastic, smarmy little so-and-so, Hawks is basically coming to realizing that he's in a horrible situation. He thinks about, yeah, my feathers are gone. I'm in an enclosed environment against someone who can shoot fire. I have to deal with twice over here. Bubagawara, he's injured. He's not gonna die, but I really messed him up. Okay, I have to first make sure like he doesn't get away. And as soon as he thinks that, Twice is like, light him up, Dobby, as he runs to the other side, and Dobby, without hesitation, just lights Hawks on fire. But I actually jumped a little bit further in time because we also get a conversation between Dobby and Hawks about how Hawks is like, well, how long did you suspect that I was a traitor? And Dobby says, oh, I never trusted you. So that's why he didn't hesitate in lighting him up on fire. And so apparently he thinks that he might have killed Hawks, which, knowing his track record right now, probably didn't. But we actually get a very endearing moment between Dobby and Twice, where Dobby is like, yo, Twice, you're gonna change the tide of this fight. Go get him. And Twice is like, you got it. And when they do that, gosh, that was loud, but they give him a high five, and that's just confirmation of like, yo, let's do this, let's mess things up, you're my comrade. And as soon as he does that, Twice makes clones of himself, makes the Twice doubles, and lo and behold, Hawks comes in from the other side, about to strike at Twice, and Dobby's like, but I just, oh, you tricky. He comes to the realization that Hawks used his fire to like shoot himself out the window and then circle around behind him. And Dobby is just not having it now. And he's like, oh, you're fast, aren't you, Keigo Takami? And at that moment, Hawks hesitates because he realizes, wait 1 second, you just called out my name. And through that hesitation, Dobby launches another blast of flames at him. And during this time, you have Hawks thinking to himself, he knows my name. How does he? Who are you, Dobby? Who are you?
Who are you, people!
Marty, I'm scared.
They know Endeavor by his name, or how they know Hawks by his given name. So the fact that Dobby was able to call out his like a legal name means that he has a form of ties with him. And what that tie could possibly be, most likely it's probably a tie with Endeavor, since Hawks looks up to Endeavor and is working with Endeavor. It's very likely that it's a tie with that, which ties into the theory, which is more confirmed than anything else, that Dobby is Endeavor's son. But there's also a possibility that Dobby could have just been a part of another experiment with the Commission, because Hawks, as a young age, was raised by the Hero Commission to be a hero. So it could be a possibility that something tied with that. And really, me personally, I think him being tied with Commission would be more interesting, because it puts a darker light on hero society that the villains are trying to let people know. The Liberation Army is like showing that this society isn't right. And if we find out that, oh yeah, the Hero Commission did some shady stuff, it gives them more clout, gives them like more reasoning for why they're doing it, because it's backed up by a little bit of evidence. But with that little tangent out the way, yeah, Hawks get blasted by the fire. Twice is about to try to save his friends, because at this moment, Compress and Toga are being chased by a hero. Spinner and Geen are probably trapped down in the basement. So Twice is like, okay, I have to go save them. I can't let them like die. I can't let them get captured. I can't make them cause so much more pain than I already have. They're in this situation because of me. So now I have to do this. And while he's doing this, he starts thinking about how his life is just filled with failures, and how he's always been like downtrodden, how life has been kicking him the entire time. And while he's thinking about this, Hawks takes out his feather sword, and it looks like he's aiming for Twice's head. And we don't get confirmation that Twice just straight up dies here, but we do see blood and the handkerchief flying in the wind. And if you know that what that handkerchief is, there is a lot of symbolism in that, and you can probably guess what's going on. I see Toga and Compress being captured by a hero, and I'm gonna be honest, there are a lot of weird powers in my hero. Like, there are common ones like super strength, super speed. There are weird ones like making comic noises into reality. This guy's, he's making snakes come out of the back of his hands that apparently have sensory ability, because he captures Toga, who is normally nimble and can avoid it. So, and he looks like he's wearing a full-on suit with this mask just slightly ripped up. And I'm like, are you sure you're a hero? Because you look more like a villain. But he talks about how he has captured them and how he's gonna take them in. You have done bad with the society, no matter what your reasons are. Once you put society in harm, I must take you away. The League of Villains. And he's like, the League of, why does it feel like someone's stabbing me in the back of the, nah! Yeah, Twice comes in for the save and literally takes the knife and just slices up the back of his head. So that hero's dead. So he goes on the kill count with possibly Best Genius, Snatch, and Night Eye. Congratulations, random hero. You are now on the wall of dead heroes. Good job. But yeah, Toga and Compress are very happy to see Twice. Specifically Toga, because she calls him by Gene, and that's something that I forgot. Like, Toga is being very cute and calls him by Gene, which is his first name, which is very important because in Japan, you normally don't call people by their first names unless you really know them. So that just shows like how they're really close. And basically Compress is like, oh my gosh, since Twice is here, we can get away. You can just wreck shit. Come on, Toga, let's go. And Twice apologizes to Compress. Is like, sorry, Compress, I can't make any more clones. And Compress is like, why not? And if you remember correctly, Twice's clones, when they've taken enough damage, begin to melt. Yeah, it's hard for me to hold this form together. And he gives a great analogy for it. It's like holding in a huge dump. But then he also, immediately after that, he says, it's like holding in a huge dump. Yeah, I fell and hit the concrete before I got here. Which, he also learned that if a clone takes enough damage, he becomes unstable and begins to fall apart. So he begins saying that it's his fault. He begins to say like he did it again. He was tricked by Hawks. This is all happening because of him. And he's apologizing for it. But before he finishes, he's like, "Oh, Toga, you hurt yourself. Let me get that little schmutz off your face." Just wipes off with a handkerchief that is supposedly the handkerchief that Toga gave him, which she then goes to a flashback of how when they were during the overhaul arc, which, see, it connects, how she wrapped up his face when he was about to separate to like calm him down. And then he begins talking about like how he was searching for himself and how he was able to find friends and people through the League of Villains. And as he's saying this, his mask begins to melt, his body melts even more. He's saying sorry once again. He didn't mean for anything to happen. And then we see Toga, who looks at him, calls out his name, and then hugs him as she thanks him for saving him. And then he basically ends off by saying like, basically like, who could ask for a better life? Tells Hawks to die, saying like, who are you to tell me that I was unlucky? I was happy. As he melts, and the last panel is just a handkerchief that appears to have melted as well, with the remnants remaining of Twice's clone, which in this chapter strongly implies that Twice gets killed by Hawks, and that this clone was the last remnant of Twice, because Twice's copies retain the memories of the person as soon as he has made like the measurements in the copy. And so with him, this is the last of Twice. So in this chapter, we get the death of pretty much a main character in the series. And when I was first reading this, I'm gonna be honest, this got to me. Because Twice, like Deku, like Bakugo, like Shoto, like all of the class 1A students, was someone that we followed from his beginnings, his introductions, learning about his abilities, learning about his backstory, learning about his character, learning about what he went through, and then having that like situation, that trauma come out, and where he comes out as a better person for the most part. And then due to something that is just a flaw of him, causes his friends to be harmed. So he basically tries to sacrifice himself to save them. The similar aspects that we see in Twice are very similar to how we see in the other heroes. And I think what this chapter confirms for me is why I like My Hero is the fact that the mangaka of My Hero has made me fall in love not only with Twice, but with the villains themselves, with their characterization, to the point of I would feel strong emotional attachment if a villain of the League of Villains were to die. I would feel the same emotions if a main character of the hero side were to die. And that, I will say, is amazing writing for My Hero, that you are able to feel these strong emotions of someone's death of a character that is considered a villain. So, as I said, in this chapter, Twice dies. But what he did for the story shows that not everything in the world is black and white, and that even if you are portrayed as a villain, you can still find happiness in that. And the real moral of My Hero another moral of it can be is, what truly is happiness? My Hero is a very good manga. And I think this chapter solidifies why. So, what's gonna happen next? A lot. Twice's death does a lot for the series. Because Twice is no longer going to be alive or within the story really, unless they still have like his copy quirk, the villains really have like no way of going against like a large like group of heroes, meaning that it's very possible that the villains will lose because they did lose like a key portion of this, but there's still a possibility that they could still come out triumphant even without Twice. It's just that Twice was their trump card. So at the very least, the heroes are at a more of an advantage now because the villains have lost that trump card. So what's going to happen next chapter? I think there's going to be more interaction between Hawks and Dottie, but most likely than not, there also possibly more resolutions of Twice's death affecting Tilda and Compress. But I think that we're going to cut over to another fight, possibly going back to Miracle and her fight with the high-end Nomus, and possibly the revival of Shigaraki, because we know that he was at 80%, so a significant amount of time has passed since we've seen that, to the point where like he could be at like 95 or 97%. So I think we may cut over there, or probably what I really enjoy is we cut over to the city where hopefully we cut back in time where we see Deku, we see Bakugo, we see Shoto helping and rescuing people. So there's really a lot that can go on next chapter, but with this chapter, it was very impactful. I felt a whole lot of emotions, and rest in peace, Jin Bugawara, aka Twice. You will always be remembered. So yeah, like, comment, subscribe, and do all of that cool jazz, and hopefully I'll be able to catch you guys in the next video.